In a small village nestled in the heart of West Africa, there lived a young boy named Udoka. His life had been touched by tragedy early on when his parents died mysteriously in their sleep after eating a meal they had been gifted. Udoka was only 5 years old at the time, too young to recognize or identify the people who had given his parents the fateful meal. Fortunately, Udoka had not shared the meal with them that night, sparing him from the same fate. After the untimely death of his parents, Udoka was taken in by a local native doctor, a wise and kind man who became a guardian and mentor to the boy. It was during this time that Udoka met Namdi, who soon became his best friend. The two boys shared many adventures and grew close like brothers. However, Udoka's time with the native doctor was cut short when he was forced to leave and live with his aunt, Choba, as she was the only remaining relative willing to take him in. Choba was a woman with a hardened heart, known throughout the village for her wickedness and cruelty. She had been childless, and some whispered that her barren womb was a reflection of the darkness in her soul. Her husband had passed away long ago, leaving her to live alone, and it seemed that her bitterness had only deepened over time. When Udoka arrived at her home, she treated him not as a nephew but as a slave, subjecting him to relentless mistreatment and harsh labor. Despite the cruel treatment, Udoka had no other place to go and was forced to endure his aunt's wrath. Every day, he carried out all manner of chores, from tending to the farm, planting, weeding, and harvesting crops, to fetching water and firewood. Meanwhile, Choba did nothing but sit idly at home, her cruel eyes always watching for any mistake Udoka might make. One fateful evening, Choba sent Udoka to the market just as the sun began to set. She ordered him to buy some food items, but by the time Udoka arrived, almost all the market women had closed their stalls for the day. He searched the market desperately, his small hands clutching the coins his aunt had given him, but most of the items on her list were nowhere to be found. When Udoka finally returned home with only a few of the items she had requested, it was already late. His aunt flew into a rage, her voice echoing through the house as she scolded and berated him. Without any mercy, she began to beat him in anger, her blows fueled by her cruel temper. As punishment, she ordered him to go into the forest that very night to fetch firewood, ignoring his pleas to wait until morning. Udoka fell to his knees, tears in his eyes, and begged his aunt to let him wait until dawn. He had heard frightening stories of evil spirits lurking in the forest after dark, and he was terrified that he might not return if he ventured into the woods at night. But Choba was unyielding. She threatened that if he did not go, she would starve him for an entire week. Reluctantly, Udoka took a cutlass and set off into the forest, his heart pounding with fear. The night was deep and dark, but the pale light of the moon guided his path, casting eerie shadows among the trees. The forest was eerily quiet, save for the chirping of insects and the occasional whistle of night birds. Every rustle of leaves sent shivers down his spine, but he gripped his cutlass tightly, ready to defend himself against any danger. As Udoka ventured deeper into the forest, searching for a suitable tree branch to cut, he suddenly heard a voice singing from afar. The melody was hauntingly beautiful, and the voice was that of a young girl, sweet and soothing. Udoka was astonished that anyone could be in the forest at such a late hour. Curiosity got the better of him, and he followed the sound of the singing until he arrived at a large, ancient tree. The air around the tree felt different, charged with a strange energy. Udoka could hear the voice more clearly now, and the words of the song echoed in his ears. Once perfect, my life was ended by a knife. It is foolish to trust, but trust yourself you must.
Udoka was mesmerized by the song, the way the words rhymed and the wisdom they seemed to convey. He sat down in front of the tree, entranced by the melody, forgetting the time and the task that had brought him there. He listened for what felt like hours, lost in the beauty of the voice and the mystery of the words. But as the night wore on, Udoka suddenly remembered that his aunt would be waiting for him. With a heavy heart, he knew he had to leave the enchanted tree and the mesmerizing voice behind. Yet, the song's words lingered in his mind, filling him with a sense of purpose and resilience he had never felt before. Hurriedly, Udoka gathered the firewood and returned home. Yet, all through the night, his mind was consumed with thoughts of the singing tree. He wondered if he had been hallucinating or if the sheer terror of the dark forest had driven him into delusion. The mysterious melody haunted his thoughts, leaving him restless and filled with curiosity. The next day, Udoka resolved to revisit the tree during daylight to confirm what he had encountered the previous night. However, he knew his aunt would never allow him to wander into the forest without a task. So, Udoka deliberately fetched less firewood than usual, hoping that his wicked aunt would once again force him to venture into the forest at night. Just as he predicted, Choba noticed the scant amount of firewood and, filled with anger, ordered him back into the forest after sunset to fetch more. Udoka accepted the punishment without protest, secretly eager to return to the mysterious tree. With his cutlass in hand, he ventured once more into the dark and foreboding forest. As he drew closer to the location where he had found the tree the previous night, he heard the haunting melody again, but this time, the tree sang a different song. I wish my eyes didn't see, but what will be, will be. I wish I stayed and didn't go out. My flames wouldn't have been put out. Udoka could feel the sorrow and regret woven into the song's lyrics. It was as if the tree itself was mourning a past filled with pain. Each night that Udoka ventured into the forest, the tree would sing a new song, each one filled with regret and sadness. Despite the eerie atmosphere, Udoka found a strange comfort in the tree's voice. He would often sit at the foot of the tree, listening peacefully to its song before returning home. Other times, he would rest against the trunk, letting the melodies wash over him like a lullaby. One day, Udoka decided to confide in his best friend, Namdi, about the strange singing tree. Namdi, the son of the native doctor with whom Udoka had once lived, was a wise and thoughtful boy. However, Namdi could not visit Udoka freely because of Choba, who forbade Udoka from seeing any of his friends. Undeterred, Udoka found a way to meet Namdi in secret and told him everything about the tree and the sorrowful songs it sang. Namdi listened intently, his mind deep in thought. After a moment, he concluded that the singing tree must be connected to a troubled spirit. To help Udoka uncover the truth, Namdi prepared a special paste from local herbs and gave it to him.